First time with the video intro, so it's a little bit
Hell yeah.
Of a figuring out to do. Anyways,
Awesome.
Nice to see everybody. Welcome everybody who's watching to episode 3 of XMen Collectors Chat. Today, I have some great guests with us today. First off, Travis from Comics Limited. Thank you for coming, Travis.
Absolutely. Thanks for the invite.
No problem. And Brian, Bigby McFly, the comic guy. Thank you for stopping by.
Hey, anytime.
And no longer a guest, officially now my co-host of XMen Collectors Chat, Dan from Dan's XMen Comics on IG.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Pleasure to be here as always.
Nice to have you along, partner.
Thank you.
So before we get started, let's just maybe acknowledge a few friends in the chat. We've got our friend Mr. Akins from What's on the Comic Rack. Good to see you, Mr. Akins. Gold medal.
What's on the Comic Rat might be interesting too.
And Flo Wolf says I should check out the inventory of Comic Hunter in Montreal. I will definitely check that out. Flo Wolf, thanks for stopping by. And that's pretty much it for everybody in the chat. So we can just jump right into it.
That's going to be like a comic shop, right? In Montreal?
I'll have to look it up. I don't know. But yeah, it sounds like it is. So, so I wanted to start off just kind of asking you guys, Travis and Brian, about your what's kicked off your love of the X-Men, of mutants, and what got you where did you start collecting it?
Ooh, that's a good question. Brian, do you mind if I go first?
You go
or
first.
Do you think I'm going to steal some of your thunder?
I kind of tie into yours though, don't I?
You do a little bit. I mean, there's some stuff that's before you. So I think it's okay for me to talk about that, and then I'll wait. You share your story, and I'll add to yours because I think
you go ahead. Go ahead, Trav.
Well, okay. So my very first X-Men comic was X Factor 14, and I bought it on a spinner rack out of a little Minute Mart that's still there in the neighborhood. It's just off of, well, technically it's that way. But it's just really close to where I live right now. And must have been 12. I think it was 85 when that came out. So I rode my bike over to it, and they had a spinner rack in there, and I bought in that store. I bought X-Men X Factor 14. That's a really cool cover where Cyclops is shooting Master Mold's hand, who's is wrapped around him with his eye with the optic blast, and then I bought DP7 at the same time. So it had kind of like a mutant theme going on there. And then probably about a week later, I think it was X-Men 209, the one where it's got, Welcome Havoc. It's the Brayfogle cover where Havoc's on, everybody's kind of monstrous looking on it, and Havoc's on the cover with him. It's like, welcome to the X-Men, Havoc. Hope you survive the experience. You know, and that was a part of that kickoff that Claremont had, that had the 4 panels on that first page that had the 4 different stories that he was going to tell over the next few years within the next couple of years in the X-Men story. And that hooked me. I was hooked at that moment. I was just hooked. So I would say that was probably my hook moment for X-Men.
That's awesome. I've read that issue. I just don't remember the panel. I got to go back and look at that to see that panel. That's cool.
Well, he repeated it like in 4 different at the beginning of each one of the stories, right? One has a Polaris and Havoc at dinner in Nevada or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
And then there's one where you see an ambulance driver, and then there's one with this is my brain's going blank. One I think is I can't remember exactly what there were 2 other ones too, but the ambulance driver one was the one that leads into the Brood storyline that happened with Silvestri's art and all that stuff.
Yeah. Such a good,
such
a good precursor to all those stories. That's awesome. Yeah. So, Brian, what was your tie-in with Travis, or just tell me your story, and I'm sure the tie-in comes in somewhere.
So, I used to be kind of an entrepreneur when I was a little kid. I think you've probably heard the story on another channel, but so I used to go and I've always had the side hustle going on. So I used to go buy bubble gum at Costco, and I would take it around to my classes with me and sell it and make a profit and use that money to buy comics. And every once in a while, people would bring comics and trade them to me. And I had a friend who was collecting X-Men. And somebody brought me an X-Men 175, and I was like, "Okay, cool, yeah." I traded for it, and then I went to my friend, and he's like, "Oh, I already have that one," and I was like, "Oh," and he's like, "Well, why don't you read it? You might like it." And I was like, "Oh, okay," and I read it, and I was hooked. And so anyway, I ended up with a couple copies of that, and that was the first comic that Travis ever traded for, I believe, was X-Men 175.
Right, I traded that from Brian. I don't even remember what I traded to you for it, but I do remember getting that book, and I was like so happy to get that book.
And then my first X-Men issue I bought off the rack was 193, which is the first in continuity appearance of Firestar, and the first, well, not the first appearance of Nimrod, but the first major appearance of Nimrod, where he starts really becoming a thorn on the X-Men side.
So
Sweet.
Current thorn, in fact.
175. That's the one where they fight the faux Dark Phoenix, right?
175. Yes. So it was funny. You and I were talking about how much Cyclops is such a dick, and I was like 175. I really kind of was like, wow, Cyclops is kind of a cool character, because he had to take on all of the X-Men. Because Mastermind was making them all believe that he was Phoenix. There it is. That's the one.
That's it.
And so it was pretty cool, because it's the first part of the story. Well, I was just blown away because I didn't know the whole trope of like the writers flipping the script on you. So I'm watching as the Avengers are talking to Cyclops on the comm link, right? And Captain America's like, "The Avengers will be there to help you. We've got to bring Jean in." And all of a sudden, you see Captain America just get disintegrated, and they look out the window, and New York City just goes up in flames as Phoenix is over there destroying. And I'm like, as a kid, I'm going, "Holy crap!" I had no idea that. Oh, it's all just an illusion,
Mr. Aikens at What's on the Comic Rack says yes, X-Men 175 was the first X-Men comic he bought as well.
Thanks.
Yes, we are 175 brothers.
So
We're triplets.
How did you guys get to know each other? How long have you guys known each other for?
Well,
So Trev, we've known each other since junior high school.
yeah. So we've been friends since junior high. We actually met at a youth group at a church, and that was where we got connected at. And we were friends. Like, I mean, Brian, when he was a senior, used to take this poor sophomore to school every day in his car and drive me to school. It was pretty awesome.
In the deluxe Pinto station
The
wagon.
deluxe Pinto station wagon. Oh, yeah.
The Blackbird. Was it?
Yes, the SR-71. That's right.
Yeah, it was the SR-71. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. We painted it that color. Yeah.
Hey, that station wagon made many trips to Comic-Con, so it carried lots of long boxes.
It did.
I know both of you guys are great artists because you're doing the Comic Book Shoutout giveaway, so I wanted to mention that as well. Did you guys kind of get into drawing at the same time too, like just growing up and being into comics together, that sort of thing, or was it just kind of a little bit more separate?
Go ahead,
we were separate. I mean, I started like, so my first comic books, like I had one grandma who's an artist. I was a painter, and she really tried to encourage me to draw and do stuff. And because she saw me, I never really liked coloring. I liked to make lines and scribbles and make people and that were, scribble people. And And so I was doing all that, and she saw that, and she thought, "Oh, that's kind of like a comic book. Why don't I get you a comic book?" And she gave me a choice of the first four, between the first four Dark Horse comics. I had a Mecha number one was one of the first comics I had, and then my other grandma, the one I spent far more much time with, saw me drawing, and she went and just took me to the store and just bought me 4 comics off the spinner rack. I think I had a Iron Man in a 151, I think it was, and a Champions and an Avengers issue, and but they were all, Captain America and a Captain America issue. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. So I was looking at those things and drawing and drawing them, and then when I got that Walter Simonson book, the way he drew just was it changed how I thought about drawing. And so, and then what happened is that we were hanging out, and Brian and we have another friend who also draws, or used to draw. I don't know if he still draws, but they were playing their own kind of D&D game, but it was just, and it wasn't D&D.
Was it Champions?
I think it was Champions, but it wasn't. You guys had modified it so much that it was, you had created powers, you had your own power set, you had your own characters, and so based off of that, plus then you had this really cool comic book. You had this one called Alien Legion. And and it was like I want to say it's issue 5. It has Jugger Grimrod on the cover, and he's kind of doing this Wolverine pose, and I saw that, and I loved Larry Stroman's art too, because his art was just so, it was like Walter Simonson, but more, I don't know how to say, I want to say more phonetic, because I think that is kind of what it was, but the cover was just so gritty and dirty and everything, and I was like, I love this, I gotta have it. And so then I created a bunch of characters after that night of playing Crusaders with them, and Champions, I guess, I don't know. The comic book was Crusaders, but the characters were from that. So I created a bunch of my own characters that were kind of loosely based off of hanging out with them, and then also Alien Legion, and then the XMen, and I had like backstories, and so I just kind of went with that. And then when we got into high school together, we were all in different art classes, and we used to leave pieces of art for each other to finish and do something else with. And so that was kind of how we kind of did art together.
Nice little collaborative design there.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So I was gonna add to that like, growing up, I think maybe it's the same way, but it's more computer stuff now. But like, when I was growing up, we always, whatever we enjoyed, we wanted to emulate that or create that ourselves. So like, even like the old video games, we would draw our own levels to video games and stuff.
Yes.
We would do a lot of drawing. So we enjoyed comics. We would draw our own comics. We had a comic convention in the basement of my friend's house with just like our friends. We're like, like we'd have our own booths, we'll set up with our own wall books and everything and stuff, and we would do trading amongst each other. And,
is that in like high school?
And all that kind of stuff. That was junior high. And I would say, like, so whatever your feelings are about church, whatever, we had a great youth group where we hung out, and like the organizers were just more about like kids being in a healthy environment. So we had like, they would staple up butcher paper on the walls in the room, and whatever the most popular thing of comics, he would be just plastered all over from Travis, myself, my friend Eric. We would be, you'd have Hella, or you'd have, Hella with her big old huge horns from, Walt Simonson's designs, or Phoenix, or Wolverine, or whatever, would be all over the wall. And they would, every once in a while they'd tear it down and put up a new thing and just let us, graffiti all over the wall with our own art and stuff and everything. So it was fun.
And they used to throw challenges at us too. Why don't you do a self-portrait or something? And we'd do some weird conglomeration of, I don't know. It was like technology growing out of the side of our head, and then it would be, I of course I didn't have a beard then.
No way.
I was just, sitting at my work desk. My work desk has stuff in it. Can I embarrass you a little bit?
Are you going to show a bunch of my old artwork?
No, it's not going to be. I'm not going to show a bunch of your old artwork. I'm going to show my artwork that you did, that you finished, or you did.
Oh,
something.
okay.
I mean, I'm looking for a really good one. Actually, you know what? This one's one of my favorites. So this is a piece.
You have to say how old this thing is. It's from like
Okay, so here you go. It's 1988.
1980 something.
1988.
Oh,
His
wow.
signature's on there and everything. This is a character I created. His name was Blades. The Blades. And he got his legs cut off like right, and he had a rocket for his way he would use it to hover and then fly. And it was a funny character. And it was one of my favorite drawings that Brian ever did for me. And it was always really cool. I mean,
show it one more time.
Oh, sure. But yeah, here, I'll bring it so you can all see it a little bit better. And you'll see that there's another character kind of in the background. That was one of my characters' name was Simeon. And I think Blade just cut that guy's arm off as he was flying by him right down there at the bottom.
That's great. Great perspective.
So, right. And this is my drawing of Blade from the same year, at the same time.
Oh, hold on.
And
Nice.
you can see much. I was not the as good of an artist
No,
as
that's
Brian.
great.
I think yours actually comparatively, I think yours is much more defined and refined than mine. So
Well, you could we're going to go back and forth on that. I think yours has so much more, is more alive. Now mine might look like be defined and all that stuff, but yours is moving. Yours is.
I try to be organic in my artwork, yeah. So
and I love that, and that's one of the best things of having.
Oh, thanks,
another
Brandon.
artist that you can always run things off.
On Comics in the house. Thank you very much, Brandon. Kind words. So, what do you guys? What are kind of like your specific things you collect X-Men wise? Like, is it just anything X-Men, or do you have like any sort of specific collecting goals? What are you looking out for? That sort of stuff.
I kind of like was completely out of. So I had two shops for 20 plus years, and at one point, collecting kind of lost its luster to me. And then after I sold my shops, we had a series of unfortunate events where all of the books that I had collected, I had a massive, huge collection of Silver Age and everything, and just ended up having to sell it to pay off some things. And so I was completely out of it up until about, was it 2019?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just started getting back, and I was like, I'm going to start collecting like keys. And then I saw Bronzeville Comics doing a haul video where he had picked up a run of the Byrne Claremont stuff, and I was like, you know what, that stuff is from my childhood and really speaks to me. And I was like, I want that. And so now I've started basically picking up the Byrne Claremont run, and you know, all the way up. I'm probably going to go up through the early 300s when I finally start filling in everything. But stuff that I read when I was in high school and a little bit past. So
that's interesting to hear, like your you know, how you've already owned a comic shop and then you sold it all, so then you started from the beginning. Did you start with that X-Men stuff, or what was, you know, what did you start with? Because I'm sure that, or did you just kind of shoot from the hip, like, hey, this looks good, that looks good, or did you have a goal?
So what happened was I walked into a gaming store. I also play Magic the Gathering, and I'm pretty decent at it. I usually garner a fair bit of credit as I'm going along. And I walked into a store that I play at, and they had, like, I want to say maybe 30, 40 long boxes of comics. And I was like, you guys don't do comics? What's going on? And he said, oh, a guy I knew passed away, and his wife, like, the local comic shop offered her like $10 a box or something. And he's like, I told her I'd do better than that for her. So he's like, but I already had a buddy go through and who owns the shop, and he pulled all the keys out. And I was like, oh, okay, well, then I just won't even bother looking, you know. I'm out of comics anyway, right? So I played my first round and won, and I was like, I had some spare time, and I walked over and I started flipping. Well, the first comic that ever got me into comic collecting was G.I. Joe. So I'm flipping through, and the first book I come to is that G.I. Joe special with Snake Eyes in the Spider-Man pose.
Yeah, the dark bluish
and I'm like,
cover. Yeah,
I'm like, that's $150 comic book. And I'm like, I looked over and I go, how much are the comics? And they said, oh, they're $2 each, or like 7 for $10. And the next issue I came to was the last issue of G.I. Joe, which is also over $100. And then the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And so and which are all high dollar books, right? And so I was like, okay. So I started grabbing stuff. And then I'm like, then I came to a run of the final issues of Transformers. And I'm like, I know those are worth money. The full run of Watchmen. I know those are worth money, And so I started pulling all these books out. And before I knew it, I had like 2 short boxes of books. And I used all my credit that I had at the store from tournament when I dropped out of the tournament at that point and just started pulling books. And I said, just out of curiosity, what did the shop owner pull out? And they said, oh, he pulled out these 4 books. It was the first Cable, first Deadpool, first Gambit. What was the other one? Oh, I think it was first Beta Ray Bill.
So that
was like,
it was probably
that was it. That was all he pulled. Everything else
done.
was left in there.
Just because I don't know, like I stick to just X-Men comics, so I know, like I don't need to look at a price guide or whatever, right? Because those are the ones that I know, and that's why I always just go after that, because there's just too many to look at, too much to know for me anyway. That having owned a shop, that stuff was stuck in my head, right? Yeah. So
I was just looking at it, I'm like, these are valuable. And I came home with those boxes, and my wife was like, did you have a stroke?
Wonderful.
You lost your mind.
I was like, no, it would be dumb not to buy these. And so then I started watching YouTube videos, and that was just before the comic boom. And I was seeing all these people, kind of going crazy over comics. And I was like, just decided to get back into it. And I didn't want to go for really new stuff. I just wanted to go for the stuff that I was familiar with and had enjoyed. And so, but then I was like, I'm going to limit myself to keys. And like I said, until I saw that video with Bronzeville, and I was like, oh, you know what? That's your brain's telling you right now. You've got that twinge inside that's like, I really want that.
Mm-hmm.
I want more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's was my problem this last year. Every time I turned around, oh, that's a pretty cover. Oh, that's a pretty cover. Oh, that's a pretty cover.
You feel like we were at the show when I found those what ifs.
I
was like, no, I don't need any series 1. I go, oh well, here's series 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I got this chunk of series 2, like this. I can go get it. It's just right there. Actually, yeah, it's right there. It's weird looking yourself on the screen. You point the wrong way. You point the right way, and you're like, "That's the wrong way. That's not over there."
Weird, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Travis, how did you get into?
Just point the opposite way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh well. So I mean, So all right. So I have to admit, I was actually, the book that got me back into X books. So I'd kind of dropped out of X-Men for a while because I wasn't really liking it. So I had really enjoyed, Matt Fraction's run towards the end of the series, and I'd kind of quit comics for a little while too. And then I went to Odyssey Comics, and I was buying Avengers and all this stuff. And that was a local shop here in town, and they started was a local shop here in town. They started doing weird things with my box, and so it was like I was coming in once every 2 weeks when I got paid, and I'd go and buy my comics. But
why do I feel like Michael Scott right now?
I don't know. Why do you feel like
I'm like, that's what she said.
So I go in there, and they keep shorting my shelf. Every 2 weeks I'd come in, they were books missing, and so I was getting really frustrated. So I was looking for a new comic shop, and Brian had already I think you were still doing work. You're still in Astoria. I want to say that or maybe you weren't.
Yeah, I was in Astoria for maybe a year, 6 months to a year after I sold the Vancouver one.
Right. So, and Chris had just got the shop and changed it to I Like Comics. And I went in, we were talking, and he's like, well, why didn't you get a shelf here? I'm like, okay. So I got a shelf
I Like
there.
Comics in Vancouver.
Yeah, I Like Comics in Vancouver. If you've ever watched my shorts, I did one where I called them out because I bought some really cool stuff on it at the shop.
They have a really fun shop, yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy it a lot. So I take it.
So side note, I Like Comics is the ruins or remnants of both of my shops.
Yes, exactly. In fact, I was leaning on one of the cases and I went, oh, hey, this is that case.
It's that case, the case that I put my knee through when I was.
Yes, it was. Yes.
Screwing a sign into the wall, and I put my knee through a case the day before the grand opening and sliced my knee all up, and I just grabbed paper towels and duct tape, and I said, I don't have time to bleed.
But how were the comics in the case?
The comics were fine. It was actually the cards. The cards were in the display case.
Yes, it was.
They survived. They were all right.
So one of the first books I bought from Chris was I think first X books that I bought from Chris, because I was kind of looking at things, and I was looking at the stories that were going on, and I was like, okay, so they kind of restarted a bunch of stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm kind of following through, and then Bendis took over, and I was like, oh, maybe I should buy that. So I started buying. I was buying it, but I wasn't reading anything yet. And then I don't know why, but this comic caught my eye. I don't know if it's like a volume 3 or volume 4. I can't remember, of XMen. But it's the one with, oh, of course, I'm going to get really bad reflection.
Right,
there we
were
go.
on that camera switch real quick there. Nice.
Yeah.
It's the all female team led by Storm, which was awesome, and it was just a interesting story, because it wasn't I liked all the characters. I already really liked all the characters in them. It's got Rogue, it's got Phoenix, it's got Rachel Summers in it. It's got Kitty Pryde. It's got
Jubilee. I thought I saw
Jubilee, and it's got Monet in it, right? And so, and Monet is so overpowered in the book, but it's so good because she's not smart. She seems smart in different parts, but when she's using her strength, she's overconfident. And so there's all that. And then Jubilee being a vampire, which I didn't even know had happened. Right. So I still didn't know that happened.
I'm just like,
so there was a story, I think the X-Men story before this, there was an X-Men title and it starts off, and I actually have, I think, issue 1 of that. And I would consider this one of the most, I know you asked us to bring underrated books, and this is the one this story I think was really underrated, because it's written by Brian Wood, but it's Oliver Copiel's art. And so it's gorgeous. But yet it's not your main typical X-Men book and guys and characters that you normally see, but the way they set the story and what they do in the book and how the story goes through, it was fun, and I enjoyed it, and it actually got me back into, okay, well, I'm reading this, and there's this battle for the atom that goes on in the storyline too, so I better read the other stuff. So I started reading Bendis's his X-Men books, and then seeing all the X-Men from the past came into the future, and this whole storyline that went with that, and it was like, boom, I was just like, I was hooked. So I read everything X-Men, and then when X-Men crossed over with Guardians of the Galaxy, then I started buying Guardians of the Galaxy, and so then it was like, I'm reading X-Men, Guardians of the Galaxy, and I still was reading some of the Avengers books I was reading. I was just all over the place, and then then Secret War happens, and they reboot everything again, and so but basically from that moment on, I've been back into collecting pretty much constantly. So,
and I'm guessing, Travis, based on the 240 comic books that you picked up at the Rose City Comic Con, you will just kind of look you're like, this looks cool, and you were just saying that you go after like the really pretty covers, right? So
I do, but
it's got to be tough to just keep going. Like how many comics you got?
Oh, let's see here.
How many boxes
You
you
don't,
got?
you don't want to know.
I'm counting. I believe it is at this moment in time. So right here next to me, there's 20. No, sorry.
He's insulating his house with comic books.
3 times. There's
Thick
15,
walls, baby.
16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21.
These are short boxes.
These are. I only have short boxes. I don't have any long boxes. I swore off long
No more
boxes.
backbreakers.
Yeah, we're too old for that now.
Yeah, I'm too old for that, and I experienced being too old for it last on Monday actually.
And not to mention, like, I feel like it's harder to like they'll just kind of like start to lean or like flap around. I just feel like it's harder to manage. Yeah.
Yes, and I've got mine packed in kind of a corner. So my PC is kind of right here, and when I point right here, I mean over there. Over there. But
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying. And then the stuff that I'm selling or that I intend to sell is over there. Oh well, some of it. I mean, my 3 short boxes of XMen. 3 of the short boxes of XMen that I have, because there's 2 short boxes right there too, are over there, and they're not for sale. And like my Batman's over there, it's not for sale. My Spider-Man's over there.
You physically separate between the ones that you're planning to keep and the ones that you plan to.
I try to.
That's
right
cool.
now it's not. I'm not as successful a separation as I am.
Mm-hmm.
I label everything.
Separation anxiety. Yes.
Oh, the dad jokes arrive.
I want to get into the books, but
yes.
But quickly,
no time like the present.
Before we do that, I just want to ask you guys quick what your favorite X-Men characters are.
Ooh.
If you had to pick one, let's just try to keep it simple so we could get to the books.
I'll make it. It's really simple. Kitty Pryde.
Word.
Wow. Kitty Pryde.
Oh.
Nope. Too late. No takesy backsies.
Oh, Nightcrawler.
No, who?
Nightcrawler.
Kitty Pryde, and Nightcrawler. So,
and I love the relationship.
Are you an Excalibur guy?
I was when Claremont was writing it.
Yeah. No, it's great. Since they both moved to Excalibur.
I mean,
sorry.
I'm gonna be just every Marvel Zombie X-Men fan. Wolverine has got to be my favorite.
What's wrong with Wolverine?
Yeah.
I mean, like there's a time period where my favorite lineup was like Wolverine, Rogue, Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler. You know, there's a certain lineup where it's like
Burn years.
This is the best. Well, no, not necessarily the Burn.
Cockrum, Burn. Yeah.
Like the Paul Smith and then
you're right.
John Romita Jr.
Yeah.
John Romita Jr. The issue where Colossus gets his ass whipped by Juggernaut and Wolverine and Nightcrawler just stand there and watch
after breaking up with Kitty. Yeah, right. That's right after Secret Wars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's no secret who's my favorite character is, so we can move on from that.
Yeah. So Dan, what's yours?
Well, it's also Wolverine. The older I'm getting, and when I revisit the character, I realize how he's kind of a scumbag, or like just kind of like just not cool. Like, I mean, he's a little okay, what did I read recently? He's like hitting on Jean Grey in like the most perverted, like scumbag kind of a way. And I'm just like, oh man, like
classic X-Men number 1
where they
classic X-Men number 1 where they retell that right after the giant size X-Men, what happened?
Yes, it actually was that. And she's against the tree. Oh my god, like you called that, dude. Yeah, absolutely. It was that. Yeah. Because I had.
And then Angel comes out of nowhere and just beats the crap out of him.
You're not fit for her. He throws him against a tree or something. Yeah. Whatever. Still my favorite.
Hey, Wolverine's my second favorite, but I have a Canadian reason for it. Canadian, so yeah.
Your favorite team is Alpha Flight? Whatnot.
No, Travis, I love you.
I like Alpha Flight, but X-Men for sure.
You love what?
I love your picks. Like Kitty Pryde and Nightcrawler, they're just like a lot more interesting. I feel like.
Yeah,
just,
I love Wolverine. I absolutely I buy his book. I'm buying his book right now. I haven't read it in like I'm about a year behind in some of my reading. There's some books that I right now that are just the books that I'm reading because, quite honestly, I buy too much comics. I just do. But honestly, the other side of it is that there are key characters that I'm always going to buy. If there's a book that's going to have, if there's going to be something written by Chris Claremont, I'm going to buy it. If it's going to be in a Chris Claremont XMen period, and I'll show one of the books that I have that I think is an underrated series. And then you have, and then if it's going to have Nightcrawler in it, I'm buying it. I'm going to buy it. Hands down.
Mhm.
If it's Kitty Pryde, I mean Marauders. When Marauders came out, I bought it specifically because Kitty Pryde was in charge, and I thought, and the fact that she couldn't get onto the island, and that all these things that she couldn't get onto the portal and all that stuff, and I was like, this is probably the coolest thing that I've ever seen in a character. They made it harder for her to be there. I mean, gosh, one of my favorite whole stories about Kitty Pryde. I'm gonna
Travis,
digress here.
do you think that you buy too many comics, or you say that? Is that because you feel like you're like, I really want to not buy as many, or do you think that it's because you're feeling external pressure not to?
No. I buy too many because if I can't read something, then I'm feeling like I'm not able to get to it. It's more the pressure that I enjoy the comic medium so much. I buy everything. I mean, I would buy everything if I could. I would buy every comic that came out. I probably would not read every comic that came out because there are certain things I just don't want to put in my face. But there are tons of stuff. I mean, I love the independent books that have been so good, and then and just independent stories, stuff like that. So for me, when I say I buy too many comics, because I just don't have enough time.
Yeah.
It's not even the time is the only pressure on this one.
Okay.
So can I touch on a couple of things in the comments?
Yeah, let's do it.
So Mon Comics says Wolverine and Cyclops. So he said he read Predator versus Wolverine, which I just saw. I was just wondering if Mon Comics had seen that.
So cool.
And then Angry Otter says, what are your thoughts on Helverine? He thinks that combination is awesome. I think that's pretty cool, but I heard somebody talking about a point where Banshee was the spirit of vengeance. And so he got to choose his ride, and he chose Juggernaut as his ride.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Banshee as like a Ghost Rider with riding Juggernaut.
I remember that. I remember that story. I mean, I remember seeing the cover with him on it, and it was pretty.
Sounds erotic.
Yes.
Not riding Juggernaut that way. Come on now.
Was it like a dad carrying his son on his
like Luke with Yoda,
Hodor.
Hodor
back and bridle riding on it.
All right, let's get into some books. Who wants to go first?
Well, I already started. Do you want me to finish? I can
finish. Yeah.
I only have 4 books altogether, so I apologize.
Do you want to go bang, bang, bang?
Sure.
Ryan, like every one person do all 5 like that?
Yeah, let's do that. But
cool.
Just so everybody in the chat and who's watching knows, I asked the guys to bring 5 books that they think are underrated or obscure or a mix of both, whatever you guys did. So I tried to make it kind of 2 things just in case you had trouble with one or the other. So take it away, Travis.
Okay.
Big here.
Well, you know what? Then I guess I do have an obscure one that I can just throw into the mix.
Yeah.
So let me pull from my other pile over here. I got a friend who has a press that wants to do some pressing, and I got some books that I found that could use some pressing. So this is not Gambit number 4. This is X-Men number 4 of the series from 91, 92. So the first appearance of Omega Red. but it was a not for resale copy. I believe it came in the Legends collectible toy.
Cool.
And it had this really cool Steve Skroce Gambit cover.
So
And
that's
I just thought,
X-Men 4, the first appearance of Omega Red with a Gambit cover on it.
yes,
That is cool.
yeah, it's pretty cool, you know. And so I thought that I actually found that in a box of stuff that I have. I have like I have a box where I throw books that are just pieces of art that I think are cool, things like that are not necessarily something I'm going to keep for the purpose of collecting, or I use it for reference, right? And Steve Skroce is one of those artists that I just love. He's just got something. There's something about his art that's just really cool.
Is that a fairly rare book? I would imagine.
Raw. I think it is pretty. It's rare in the sense that it came from a toy. I think.
Yeah.
And so, and so that in that case, it's rare. I didn't check any graded prices on it, but but cover price has it at $10 for sale. So it's not a big book, but it's fair market value, $10. That's pretty. I thought that was pretty cool too. I mean, the other ones, of course, with Wolverine on it and all that, and you see Omega Red on the cover, it's so much better.
What's on the comic rack is asking, are those Legends comics worth anything? I just picked up the Spider-Man 2099 with the white cover, and that is considered kind of a ghost for Spider-Man 2099 #1. It's a yes. The answer is yes.
So this next book, it is Extreme X-Men. Now this is the new #1 from the new series that Claremont and LaRocca did just this last year. Now,
sorry, when you say the new #1,
I mean like the new #1, a new series.
Yeah,
the new Extreme X-Men #1.
Yeah, new Extreme X-Men #1, 5-issue series that Chris Claremont and Salvador LaRocca did this last year. Now it's
only 5 issues.
It's only a 5-issue. It was a 5-issue miniseries, and it was kind of a tie-up, I guess, to the original story. But they also talk about that they're going to make. There was in the end, in the back, the 5th issue, they talk about how they're going to make more. Like there's an ongoing series.
I think there's an omnibus already of that. Which
maybe
doesn't make sense if it's a 5-issue thing, but
no.
Well,
So no, there's
came out back in the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, back in the 90s when this #1 came out.
Okay. Yeah, now it's making sense.
Right. So anyway, I have not read the 90s series. So I just picked up this one because I was like, this looks really cool. And it's Chris Claremont, right?
Yeah.
And it was a series. It wasn't, it was a series that he wrote, and it was kind of his take. I'm going to write the story that I wanted to write that I didn't get to write. And Marvel's like, hey, come write your story. So I think that's what this story is. I'm not sure for sure. The reason why I showed Extreme X-Men is that back when Brian did have a shop, there was a run of Extreme X-Men that came out that was really cool. It was this story that was set. This one wasn't written by Claremont, but it was an Extreme X-Men story that had Dazzler in it, and they did this whole thing where they jumped across multiverses. And it's going to lead into this next comic I'm going to show. But this the multiverses thing was really cool because we got a different Wolverine. We got all these different characters all the way through it. And Dazzler was our Dazzler from from the 616 universe, and she kicked ass. She went from being this ho hum, I'm light powered girls dancer singer person to I'm a leader and I'm gonna kick some ass, and she did. So I don't know, we had kids show, should I not have said ass? I'm just kidding.
Oh, don't worry.
I'm kidding.
It'll be all right.
So but speaking of multiverse jumping, this title X-Man, which came out of the Age of Apocalypse storyline, this character, he kind of was ho-hum. I mean, he was an okay story. They kind of had that whole thing going on with Apocalypse and all this stuff. But this character was unique and interesting became unique and interesting because Warren Ellis in the early 2000s came in and was allowed to write all the X titles. Like he picked up everything, and they were like, okay, we're going to give you all these titles. We need to get them going in a good direction together. And so he came in, he found writers and artists that he wanted to work with to do these storylines with it. And so then the storyline here was I can't remember the guy's first name, but Grant, his story is just, it's fabulous. He goes through the multiverse, and he goes through and he's doing all these different things. He's healing other planets, and we go through the multiverse in a way that's I've never seen before. I mean, they didn't even do this when they were crashing the multiverse planets together before Secret Wars, right? It was basically, he goes to these places and he helps these other worlds, like, you know, world 14792, so, you know, way far from the main timeline, right? And on that planet they're all mud people. But it was interesting because he was helping them. He helped them and he did things with them. It was really kind of cool. This story was actually, I think, the inspiration for Matt Rosenberg's story, where he did the Age of X-Man storyline more recently, before Hickman's run on X-Men, before Power of X and House of X. He did the storyline, and it was awesome. It was like, okay, what if X-Man came and said, okay, Age of X-Man, and now I'm going to change the world, and it's going to be in my vision, right? It's kind of like the Age of Apocalypse, but let's say it was X-Man instead of so it's Nathan Christopher instead of Apocalypse. And I thought that story was amazing because it was too perfect, right? It was too good, I think it really did lead to the ideas that even Hickman ended up using to tell his story, to start telling his story, because it was so unique and different than anything that anybody had ever done. I mean, you know, you think, oh, Age of Apocalypse, but they had all these different X titles that were kind of kooky, and they did like a Gambit and the Externals and all these the same title names as they did for Age of Apocalypse. They did in Age of X-Man, and they were fun, and they were interesting. I like that a lot. So my final book, speaking of Matt Rosenberg, was Phoenix the Resurrection. Now, why would I bring Phoenix the Resurrection? Well, other than the fact that it's the only Matt Rosenberg book I have from X-Men right now, for whatever reason. Maybe I sold it, I don't know. Sometimes I sell things that people. This and it's a lenticular cover. It's probably one of the best Marvel lenticular covers ever made, because it really has the 3D effect to it, rather than being, you know, flopping around and stuff like that. And that's what's really cool about it. So what I loved about this story, well, other than I fell in love with the writer, because he moved me. I was moved by this story. I was like, wow, this is so cool. And the fact that they actually were able to finally rectify Phoenix and Jean Grey in a storyline, and then we get adult Jean back at the end of it. And, you know, I mean, of course, I think right after that, X-Men Red came out, and that was the title that she was running in, and had some really great Travis Charest covers. So, you know, I equate a lot of art with storylines, so it helps me remember things. But this story, just the way they built it, the story between her and Wolverine, and how Wolverine helps her, and all these different things, and how he figures out it's really her, and then how even young Jean helps older Jean, and how they kind of help fix this whole thing. It was incredible, and I cannot speak more about that type of story, because it's just I think everybody should read Phoenix Resurrection. It's probably one of the best obscure stories out there in the Marvel universe. So anyway, those are my books.
I'm writing things down that I need to go find and read.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So Trav, while I'm showing my books, I need you to find the book that I told you to get. That is the what was it? Phoenix and Scarlet Witch. Where they No More Phoenix, that one. You know.
Phoenix.
Well, you picked up all the variant covers.
Oh, so I
because
have.
we were like, oh, this is going to be a key.
You know exactly where it is.
You remember what I'm talking about?
I think so. Maybe.
Okay, so there's a book that came out. Travis can share the books. I'll just talk about it. I didn't bring it as an underrated key, but it is the book where Phoenix or Scarlet Witch and it's not Phoenix. It's Scarlet Witch and Hope get together and use their powers, and they say no more Phoenix, and they bring back all the mutants. And we're like, that's going to be. I think that's going to be a key.
Oh yeah. Issue 12 of AVX.
AVX, yes. So,
Oh yeah. Well, but
show covers after I show my books.
all right.
You
If you want me to go find that, I know exactly where it is. It's just I have to go to it.
Well, I'll be big and you'll be hidden. So
I'll be hidden. I'll be right back.
all right. So
keep you hidden.
Go hide.
So while he was talking about favorite storylines, I'm going to say that besides the Byrne Claremont run of X-Men, my favorite run of X-Men is the Astonishing X-Men run by Whedon and Cassidy.
Nice.
That is amazing. If you have not read it, it is so good.
I just picked up, I think, almost the entire run in a lot on Elvin's Comics.
Oh my God! It is the best writing.
How many
it
issues? Is it like 20 something issues, 28 issues or something like that?
Yes, something like that. Yeah,
I think they got the whole run.
So good. It rekindles. It brings back Colossus and Kitty Pryde together. Which and then it. I don't want to spoil it for you, but that's just the way that whole thing culminates is like just amazing. And so yes,
I love that Colossus Kitty cover from that run.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it's 6.
Is it 4 or 6?
I think it's 4. I think it's 4.
Yeah. I'm chasing a 9/8 in that one.
That is a beautiful cover.
It's first Abigail Brand too, I believe.
Yes. Agent of Sword. All right, so my underrated books. I'm gonna go old school here. So, and I think these books, they may all valuable though they may be. More room. So
beautiful.
First appearance of the Starjammers. I think that's going to be an important book when we get the X-Men in the MCU.
Of the Starjammers and the Imperial Guard, including Gladiator. That's
many first appearances.
That's a big
one. I think the only other one that isn't in here that's big. Well, okay, there's 2. Lilandria isn't in this book. She's in a prior book.
Yeah.
And Warbird's first appearance is in Miss Marvel. So I think that's another big key for that. But,
right.
I mean, just the splash page on it is so sick, and there's so many awesome Dave Cockrum space panels.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I love Chog.
That's awesome.
the big lizard dude. He's awesome.
Yeah,
he's kind of like Groot.
So. What's the little dude with the tooth necklace that Wolverine steals his? That happens in that too, right?
Yeah, he's not a Starjammer. He's one of the Imperial Guard.
I think that doesn't happen though until like when they're fighting.
That happens during the Brood run, the Brood series, because that guy died.
No. He kicks the guy's ass and takes his costume for whatever reason.
It's part of the Encron crystal. Battle.
Yeah. So I think that's a big book that's going to have some meaning. This book is underrated. This is the next issue in the run, because first John Byrne. Byrne to me is, I mean, everything X-Men, and his artwork. His artwork to me is super inspiring. Makes me want to be a better artist. Him and Jim Lee.
Hell yes.
Love them both.
So, yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of other guys too, like Barry Windsor Smith and a lot of that kind of stuff. But
well, yeah.
So first John Byrne, big one.
Yeah. Now there's a difference between like John Byrne has like it's just like sharp and hard, and Barry Windsor Smith just feels so smooth and beautiful. You know, there's something.
Yeah.
about
So I try to, and that's what Travis was trying to say something about. Like my artwork feels alive. I try to go for that, like just to capture motion and emotion in my drawings. So like just movement, I guess, and fluidity of my lines. But I digress. Anyway, other.
Mr. Aiken's getting excited.
Okay, wait a second. I thought we were doing underrated books here, right?
This is an underrated book. This is the first solo Wolverine book, and I don't think it's worth enough.
Okay.
And by that definition, that's underrated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe
Although
that.
A very popular book.
Yeah, it's a very popular book, but I think that this book has, it should be worth more. So that's
sure.
just in my humble opinion.
Yeah, like Hulk 81 money. I think that's probably what it is.
I would say an underrated book that is worth some money that I think should be worth more and is going to be worth more. New Mutants 98. I'm just saying.
For real, huh?
I think it's going to be a Hulk 181 ASM 300 type of book. I mean,
I see what you're saying there. It's like a high print run. There's going to be a lot available, but the demand's going to be there.
The demand, everybody that is speccing or hoarding or collecting is going to want to have 10 or 20 copies, so that even if there's a super high print run, there's not going to be a lot out there.
Gotcha.
So, okay. So here we go. We'll go a little more underrated. So,
oh, nice.
Miss Marvel
Mystique.
16. You guys know what that is?
Mystique.
First Mystique.
First cameo Mystique, which I was saying in the green room before the show. Travis showed me when he got all those books for super cheap. The guy had the first full Mystique.
Yeah,
and that's the only book I regret not picking up when I was at the show.
You know what? That book was hacked to pieces, though, man.
Was it pretty bad? I didn't get a close look at it.
I would have pulled it. It would have been one. It would have been in that pile of books, but it was just so beat up. I just didn't feel like I didn't want to invest in doing something with it. So, because that would have been a book that I would have probably ended up trading to you anyway.
Okay.
And I don't like trading you books that are beat up. I'd rather trade you nice books.
Aw.
I'm showing books that are worth money, but I think should be worth more. So underrated being the definition. So Captain Britain #1.
Beautiful.
Super hard book to find.
Oh yeah.
X-Men related, X-Men adjacent, right? Excalibur. And the other one would be the first appearance of Betsy Braddock. Psylocke is also in Captain Britain, so I need to get that book. But this is a 9.0 green because it's missing the mask, which
I feel like every copy is.
Probably.
I spied with my little eye a little while ago one with a mask for a pretty good deal, so I gotta go find it.
And then rip that mask out and put it right on.
So are you ready?
No, it was a graded copy.
Are you ready?
High grade copy with the mask.
Are you ready for your final?
Oh, I see. Where?
Travis, say it now.
Ryan, are you ready for your final book?
Hang on, one more thing. So this isn't underrated, but I got to show this one.
Yeah.
Yes. The hammer.
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
I gave you.
You don't go home now.
I gave you the free pass to show that, and I'm very glad to.
Yeah.
You know. Though the only problem with that book there, Colossus Collector, is Colossus is in that book.
It's true.
Colossus isn't in his book,
but that's why it's not. It would be worth way more if he was.
Somebody knew way back in the day that this book was gonna be worth more, and they wrote. See, they put 14 cents.
Yeah, I love that. They're like, it's worth more than 12 cents, so I'll just write that right here.
All right, over to Travis for the.
All right,
big reveal. Okay, so this isn't the book, but it has Scarlet Witch and Hope on the cover. But this is issue 0. Beautiful Frank Cho cover.
Yeah,
love Frank Cho. Frank Cho's art is
the man.
Awesome. He is the man. But what Bigby McFly is talking about is issue 12, round 12 of Avery X, and the scene he's talking about is right here where they say no more Phoenix. Using her
They
hex
bring-
power, and since it's Hope is using her hex power as well, and has all the Phoenix power in her because she grabbed it from everybody else. So
Wow, the
that-
solar flare art is sick.
yeah, I mean everything about the art in this whole series was just amazing. I mean, it's
and what happens after that?
I got it.
All the mutants come back.
yeah, that was it. All the mutants come back.
That Scarlet Witch banished during
Of course.
Mr. Akins thinks I'm gonna show my giant size X-Men
Yeah.
because I just can't help show it all the time.
Well,
but
Bigby's not here to show his
don't
giant sized man thing. So.
yeah,
I was just gonna say Brandon's not here to show his giant sized man thing.
I gave
That's
him his
Montage.
giant
Damn it, Dan.
2 minds, my man.
Four.
Love it.
All right, Dan, you're
Yeah.
up.
All right. Well, I love the not for sale ones. I had one of my favorite books is 129 and found the I think it's like the JC Penny. I don't know. I just picked it from some box, but thought that was interesting.
That is an action figure one, also, I believe.
Oh, okay. So that's,
Yeah.
action figure one.
okay.
What's the actual-
Probably a Legends, one of the Legends.
Okay,
characters.
right on.
What's the actual issue of that one? Do you know?
129 is that what you mean?
No, I mean like that's the cover on a different book, like the other one.
Dude, I never even opened it.
Oh, let's find out.
No, it's actually I think it's 129 on the inside. It's just saying
Oh.
featuring Colossus because the probably action figure was Colossus, just like the action figure for the other one was probably Gambit.
It's this is it. This is here.
Oh, so it's a reprint of 120.
Yeah, with modern ads.
Yeah. Cool.
Nice.
So there's the Colossus Kitty Pryde cover from Astonishing X-Men that you like so much, Colossus Collector.
Yep.
Is actually the action figure one is not. The interior is different. It's not the first Abigail brand. It's a different issue
Oh, okay.
for the action figure cover.
I also want to say that the difference between both of your choices so far, love the contrast because
Great range.
you know, Brian, yes, exactly. I love all those books. Anyway, but let's go back to Burn, right? All right, here's a non-key from that, like the rare non-key is 115. This has just kind of got everything that you would want in an X-Men story. Mind control of Wolverine, just like let's see, the problem is like Storm's always like the damsel, like in some of these, like one of those OP characters that like there's something like claustrophobia that they can never really, that puts them out of their misery or whatever too early, so they can't fight. Colossus, like or rather Sauron tries to take sucks Colossus's power, but then he like transforms into his metal form and just blasts Sauron back. It's just so, and then Kazar makes an appearance. It's just a bunch of fun, and none of it, you could even just like throw this out and it wouldn't make a difference in the whole run. It's just like so much fun and it doesn't really matter. And I feel like you can like pick these up a lot of times for like $25 in like pretty decent condition.
Yeah, an awesome cover.
Yeah, and a killer cover for sure. Here's a
I think
perfect choice.
That whole run though, that whole story arc about the early team and their whole like world or their whole continent hopping adventures and Professor X thinking they're dead. And I mean, it's just the way it kind of brings them all together closer, more tight knit as a team. I just love that whole early storyline.
Yeah, me too.
In real time, which is crazy. But yeah, like they go to the Savage Land, and that's so sick. Like I love that Savage Land it's so weird, but it's so much fun to me. I love it. Speaking of the Savage Land and a perverted choice is X-Men 274, because you get based for one reason. You get Rogue in the Savage Land costume.
Yep.
And there's so many panels and so much action. It's just another fun one. And it's Jim Lee. Jim Lee on
Yeah.
the art.
Jim Lee, you can't go wrong there.
Look
And
how
it's-
erotic.
And it's
this
a
is.
Nick Fury cigar smoking cover too.
Oh,
Yeah.
true that. Yeah, they send in Shields to try to take care of it.
As a cigar smoker, I enjoy that one.
Like, look at this. Look how hello, you know.
He just calls his costume into place. I thought that was such
Magneto's naked. So, and then, like, you know, just fighting off beasts. Like, everybody's half naked. It's wonderful.
That's what you got. That's what you do when you're in the Savage Land. You go half naked.
Oh yeah, yeah.
a little too warm for anything else.
All right, let's get to the next. Barry Windsor Smith.
Hey, speaking of Nick Fury smoking on the cover, I'm curious if anybody knows what the last Marvel Comics smoking cover is, because they don't allow that anymore.
Oh,
That'd be an
good
interesting
trivia.
fact to know. Yeah, I don't know what the last one would be.
They don't allow, like, Thing can't smoke cigars, Wolverine can't smoke,
Yep.
Nick Fury can't smoke. Nobody can smoke anymore because it's you don't want to encourage kids
don't
to smoke.
influence
PM
that.
PC.
All right. Barry Windsor Smith, X-Men 205. It's
That issue
like,
is so good.
It's the interior as well. It's just, I mean, that's
There
on the
is-
cover. So
There
cool.
is nothing better than that book. There is no story that Barry
I
Windsor
love
Smith
the
has
part
drawn
with
in.
Katie Pride in there, Katie Powers in there.
Yeah.
Her whole thing.
Yes.
That is just
right.
Her story is what it makes you. It makes everything about Wolverine that you've always wondered about. It brings that story to life. It actually brings the story of life that makes you want to read the story in Marvel Comics Presents. Right? It's because of this issue and her having to talk to a feral Wolverine. It's just you're just like that makes you want to know how did he got to be that way, you know? And I know that doesn't take place before him, but yeah, oh my gosh.
I
and
love
then
that this little girl saved his life, you know,
Yes.
basically. He was
That's right.
gonna
She
be
brings him
dead.
to a taxi and they, you know, to try to save him, right? So not only is it's touching, right? Like with that story, but you also just get, you know, bloody just action in a snowstorm. Lady Deathstrike. I think this is also like the first time they show Lady Deathstrike's like cybernetic. I don't even know what.
Do they show her with Mojo and everything at the beginning of that issue?
Mojo isn't in this from my memory, but that's a good question.
the whole origin of her getting her cybernetics.
he is, but you don't see that it's Mojo. You can't see him. He's in shadow, I think.
Barry Windsor Smith is so good at telling stories without, you don't need any words. Like,
I know there's that whole page. It's
wait a minute. Very first panel there.
Yeah.
What do we got?
Yeah, where he's like, what would you give? What would you, you know? Yeah.
And Spiral is standing right there.
There's Spiral. Yeah.
So I'm glad you all agree. Yeah, this, I mean, you know, you can get it $5 or $10, you know.
Yeah, I
that's a steal on that book. That book is
Oh, you think so?
basically that cover is the beginning of the Weapon X storyline. If you look at that cover.
So cool, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So much.
It's a beautiful cover.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not a big Barry Windsor Smith guy, but there are a few absolute bangers.
Yeah, I hear that. People love him or hate him, it seems like, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so don't watch the 7 videos I did of Barry Windsor Smith then.
We're moving along. 222. Okay, so you know the first meeting with Sabretooth and Wolverine was 212, I think. And
round one black cover.
Yes, right. And in that one, they kind of like tussle for a page or two, and then Wolverine ends up breaking down bricks, like classic cartoon, like I'm just going to slash the wall and these bricks will fall on you and not me. And that's what happened. And he's like, back in the day, I would have killed you, but now I don't do that anymore. Right. Kind of actually, that's how the 205 ended. I think he mentioned that like Lady Deathstrike was begging for Wolverine to kill her.
Right.
And he, you know, left her. And he said, I would have done that, but I'm not like that anymore, even though there's still a wild animal inside. So 222, this is when he sticks him, right? He like does a gut punch and then you know, has a whole monologue during one punch and then snicks him right in the guts. And that one was so. Oh, and this one has like a personal story to me, because this is where I saw this one behind the glass at my local comic shop in Eugene back in the day, and I thought that X-Men Volume 2 adjectiveless X-Men was the only X-Men. So I was like, why is that 222? I have number 1. Like, how come that one's $20?
Right.
And that's when I learned, like, oh, like, there's a whole nother run. Like, what the hell? I was kind of pissed.
I've got a lot of reading to do.
Yeah. And I could I barely even read comics. I was like 4th grade or something. And I was like, I just like to flip through and look at the pictures. Like, I can't afford $20 an issue. This comic really hasn't appreciated. Like, for 20, like, I feel like it's still a $20 book.
There's a lot of books in that era that are like that kind of, and those books that do that, that's the ones that are going to jump at some point. You know?
Yeah, it feels like it's time if I was gonna, you know. But I know there's a lot of copies, and 221. I feel like this used to be more expensive than 221. The Mr. Sinister book.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I just feel like it's, you know, and it's just such a killer cover.
Cover,
yeah, Mark Silvestri. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yes. And it's just like, I just always wanted it as a kid, and so then I got 5 or whatever.
So many classic covers during that time period, with even the Romita Jr. one with Wolverine slashing down the cover with the 3 slash marks.
207, something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of those books I think are primed for.
Or the Alan Davis one. Yeah.
There's a pair. Morlocks and the fight with Callisto and Storm.
First Callisto there.
That's right. First Callisto, and the just like a awesome epic knife battle.
Hey, and speaking of gut punch with the stab.
Yeah. And here we are. Yes. Under the in the sewers under the train station. And I just feel like the Morlocks just like kind of really represent mutants, you know, in a way, like hated mutants that are ashamed of themselves. And it's, you know, they were always beautiful mutants that were so, you know, drawn so beautifully and attractive on all of the previous comics. So it was kind of, you know, except for like maybe a few of the bad guys, right? But this is like the first time I feel like you start to see like other normal mutants with maybe not
before that we had like Toad and Blob and, you know, some guys that were not the beautiful mutants, but this we got really disfigured mutants.
Yes, disfigured, and also powers that may be useless, or maybe their powers are just that they look different, you know.
Right.
And I just feel like you can get this, you know, $10. First Morlocks, first Callisto. Like, I just it's a stupid, like, I really don't think I like this cover. It's you know, she steals Angel to become his prince or whatever. It's a rat hanging out on the top. I don't like the cover, but it's a great. I think it's
those are Paul Smith, right? Are those Paul Smith?
I think so. Yeah, they're Paul Smith.
Okay.
EMS.
And then if we're gonna hit on it's probably not underrated. I don't know. It probably
not
is.
Underrated.
This is the raw one that I bought on eBay. I have my graded 7.0.
What's your estimated grade on that?
After looking at it a little closer, probably like what did I say? VG fine. I always like I start. I'm like, oh, this is a fine plus, maybe a fine, very fine. And then, you know, you look at it and you're like, nah. And then, you know, like on the back of the sticker where I write the grade, it's like, cross that off. It's a little worse than I thought.
Right.
There's like the worst thing about it is there's a couple of like tears, and then like on the back, the guy didn't send. I asked for pictures of the back. I claimed it first because I was like, this is too good. There's like dirt and like stain, like kind of like a grease.
I see a little yellow spot in the middle.
Yes, exactly, the yellow spotting. I don't think like in that mid grade to like low grade, because it's not like a stain. It's more like a oil. I don't know. You know, it's just like
is that what they call the foxing?
You might call it that, but I feel like there's like tiny black specks. I don't know if you can see. Like, you can kind of see along the bottom. Like, I think that I could clean it off. but it did leave a residue stain that kind of made it a little translucent, the paper. So I guess it's a stain, right? And between that and then there's like a tiny tear on the back spine. It's not too significant, but that's why I kind of think it's like a 5, or maybe, I don't know, like it can't be like a 4 though. Like it's pretty.
That's pretty nice for yeah.
I mean,
well, it presents really well in the front.
It does. Yeah, you're right. There's a color stain, or I mean, a little break in color right there. You can see going vertically, kind of like from.
Well, Dan, that's one that I still need. So you know.
Hey, and check this out. Check this out. You got a signature. I was like, that's not Chris Claremont.
It's the Cochrane?
It is Chris Claremont. It says best and then 78. And when I did a little research,
that's his
it
old
looks
signature.
like his old signature.
It does kind of look like it says Claremont.
No, it does. Yeah, it says Chris Claremont. But it's like, you know, I was like, that's not his signature. But apparently, based on the forums and things like that, his signature has changed over time. So I think it's really cool to have like this, you know, in 78. So that's around just before the Dark Phoenix saga. So I just thought that was pretty cool. That's
cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
So yeah, no, if you're looking for it, I'm not going to hold both, but I'm kind of trying to decide, like, do I want my collection to be raw moving forward? I'm at a crossroads. I need to do some soul searching on, you know, what do I want my collection to look like? Because
I have a friend who
has regrets. So go ahead.
I have a friend who got a copy of Fantastic 448, and when he got it home, he was like, "All right," and he always. What he does, when he brings home a new big book, he puts it up on the mantle, lights some candles, has a glass of wine, and he says, "Welcome to the collection." And he does all that,
awesome.
And he does all that, and he opens it up, and he goes, "Ah, there's writing inside." And he goes, "Wait a minute, that's Stan Lee and Jack Kirby."
Oh my God!
Wow.
Writing.
Awesome.
Right. Who wrote in this? Only like
he's like, "Oh great, you know, little Timmy wanted to market it as his own book." Oh wait a minute.
Hey guys, I'm really sorry, but I have to step away for a couple minutes. Family needs.
No worries. No worries.
Okay.
Just put it on mute, brother.
I will. I'll be back.
Yeah, so I don't want to hear what the.
Yeah.
Like, damn it! I told you. Yeah.
I'll kick off my books then. So my first one is Uncanny X-Men 159, and then also King Size Annual number 6.
Mm-hmm.
And
kind of tie together.
They're it's a twofer on this one, and this is Bill Sienkiewicz. I can never say his name. Bill Sienkiewicz.
I always said Sienkiewicz.
Sienkiewicz.
That's what I always said.
Yeah.
So you've heard West Coast Dave Enders say it. Because I always used to say, so my friends and I used to say Sienkiewicz. Because we pronounce it phonetically. Sienkiewicz. So he always does his little song. He's like, Bill Sienkiewicz, Sienkiewicz.
I need a mnemonic. I need a little song to know that one. But yeah, great Dracula. Storm becomes a vampire story between these two books. I think that's a underrated X-Men.
That's a great storyline.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some cool art too. Then I got Uncanny X-Men 238. And this is the ending of the Genosha, the first Genosha story. When the team comes to rescue Rogue, who's been taken over by Carol Danvers, and Wolverine. They were captive on Genosha, and the team bursts in and saves them, and that ends the storyline that had been going over a number of issues. But I really love that cover too. It just so dynamic how the whole team's just kind of coming at
Silvestri did this there.
Yeah, Silvestri on the cover, and they're just tearing up the Genoshan magistrates. Really cool book.
Who's that in the corner? Is that Eternity in the corner? The corner box?
Is that Eternity? I think that's one of those high cosmic beings. So you're definitely right about that. I don't think it's Eternity, is it? I think it's another one though.
One of those.
Yeah, it's definitely one
I
of
don't
those.
remember that being in the corner box, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's cool.
But that's like the first locational appearance of Genosha, is that right?
No, well, that's the conclusion of that like, I don't know, 3 or 4 issue story where they go to Genosha. Basically, what happens is Madeline Pryor gets kidnapped along with this Genoshan nurse, and then they go. Then like magistrates come, the X-Men are trying to find them, and then Wolverine and Rogue get kind of teleported to Genosha, and they find out that Genosha is basically this like slave state for mutants, and then it's like
I love that episode in the cartoon.
But it's so different in the cartoon.
Yes,
it's so different.
What's on the comic rack says that's Lord Chaos.
Lord Chaos.
So you said Madeline Pryor, right? Did you mention Madeline Pryor in there?
Yeah, so it's just before Inferno kicks off. You start seeing a little bit of the Goblin Queen sort of coming out in that storyline, and like it goes right into Inferno.
So do you know the secret first appearance of Madeline Pryor?
No, I'm not aware.
First appearance of Rogue is in.
Rogue is in Avengers 10. Oh, that I did hear that. It's Madeline.
So at the very beginning, there's this little girl.
Yeah.
So maybe like 8 to 10 years old, and she's holding a teddy bear, and she's like, "I'm Maddie Pryor. I've been sick," and that's all you see at the beginning. Is like, and he kind of. So I think that's something to do with Sinister cloning Jean Grey and something going wrong. So she's at the hospital there.
It is. I have it literally right here.
Does it mention that on the slab?
Yeah, it's his first appearance of Rogue and Madeline Pryor right on the note.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. All right.
That's a cool book right there too.
So my next book is X-Men 217, and this is
I love that
in art. Too bad Travis isn't here. I know he's a big fan.
So is Juggernaut kind of your other fave? Like, I mean, if he's kind of the antithesis to Colossus.
Yeah, who's your favorite villain?
Brian? It's a great question. I don't know if I've ever sat down and thought about who my favorite villain is. Juggernaut would definitely be there. But it's hard to not love Magneto.
Yeah, he's the most interesting and has the best monologues.
Yeah.
So we got into an argument the other night, like where people were like, "Magneto's a hero. He's not a villain. He sees himself as a hero."
Yeah. That's what makes it so interesting.
Mike at Lunch Money Comics has the same viewpoint. He doesn't like that when kind of the Jim Lee era came. They kind of reverted Magneto back.
They put him back to being a bad guy, yeah. He had gone through this whole Darth Vader redemption thing, right?
Yeah, he had really grown, but he's an anti-hero, you know. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's bad, but he's got a sympathetic cause at times.
Right.
You
I kind of feel like that Jim Lee era, they wanted, it's almost like the whole thing where they did with Peter Parker, where they were like, we don't want Peter Parker to be married anymore. We're going to come up with a way to, you know, we're going to do the one more day thing where, it's just kind of like, well, that's dumb. You've just erased all this growth for this character.
I got to say, Angry Otter, Doom is there too. I love Doom.
Yeah, I was going to say Doom. Doom's up there for sure.
Yeah. I was thinking more X-Men. If I went beyond X-Men, I'd have to really think about that. Because I really love Venom, and he's kind of
anti-hero,
hero, right? So
neutral.
So I don't know if you classify him as a pure villain. So
well, go. You can keep going, but think pure villain then.
So back to this one, 217. Beautiful Walt Simonson art. Not a ton of X-Men books with his art on it, and I love this story though too, because Dazzler had just recently joined the X-Men, and she's feeling very unsure about herself as a member of the team, as this new course in their life. And she kind of like takes off, and she runs into the Juggernaut, and Juggernaut's actually a huge Dazzler fan, like as a star. And he's like, she ends up kind of like thinking, oh, I'll take him on myself and prove myself. And all the while, Juggernaut is actually showing kind of like a non-mean side to him. He doesn't understand why she's attacking him. But he eventually just like goes at her because she just won't stop attacking him. Anyways, I think this is a pretty cool issue, cool story.
Doesn't that one end with like he thinks he killed her at the end, right?
Yeah. I think it's this one. I can't remember. This story kind of goes over 2 issues, but there's a great last panel, or it's the first panel in the next book. I can't remember, where he's like,
I think it's the last panel
or something. And
he's like, I loved her. What happened? How did I killed her?
Why did you do this? Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
And it kind of just shows a soft side to Juggernaut, which I like.
Yeah.
All right. So next up, I've got X-Men 61. And why I feel this is underrated is that X-Men 60 is the first appearance of Sauron. This is the second appearance. And Sauron, the number 60 is obviously the big key, the one that people chase after. It's the bigger book, obviously, because it's the first appearance. But this Neil Adams cover art, I think, is the better cover out of the 2.
Yes.
I think him battling Angel here is really, really cool cover art. And you really see Sauron. I always call him Sauron. It's Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
You really see Sauron in this depiction versus the back.
You don't see his face. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't see his face. He's got his back to you in the first appearance. So classic Neil Adams and
cameo, right? Cameo versus full appearance.
The other one's like an origin story in 60.
Yeah.
Which is cool. But this one, like they finished their battle. It's just like the very beginning of the battle.
Like someone in like the Burton Claremont issues, he's not wanting to take people's take their powers and stuff. He's almost like he's like, no, I don't want to. It's almost like that split personality kind of thing of like almost like a Norman Osborn, fighting that.
Yeah, he's kind of like or the Lizard, right? Like he in human form, he doesn't like that he turns into Sauron. He actively tries not to, but if he absorbs that mutant energy or whatever, turns into Sauron, and his hunger, his thirst for more energy and more power drives him, and he becomes this like evil.
Exactly. And for some reason, the X-Men are always like, "Oh, okay, you'll learn your lesson."
Such a cool character.
Yeah, he's my favorite villain.
My last underrated cover,
baby,
Uncanny
first direct edition.
And I just think, I'm biased, clearly, but this cover is so sick. Like, John Byrne just destroyed this cover. Like, incredible. I love it. I love that was
John Byrne, is it? Is that Byrne?
That's John Byrne. And the perspective.
I think Cockrum does the cover.
I'm pretty sure that's the Cockrum cover.
Really? I looked it up. Oh, it is Cockrum. And
dude, no worries. I thought so too until
it is John Byrne interiors.
For sure.
This period is kind of weird because sometimes it's Byrne and sometimes it's not Byrne.
I think like Cockrum worked along with those two guys to because Cockrum kind of like designed the characters originally, and I'm sure they all collaborated together.
I think Cockrum did some covers and Byrne did interiors.
So Jim Shooter had a thing against John Byrne because Byrne had such a great surge in popularity, and he was like, "You haven't put in the work to get." So he would give other people the cover. He would give Cockrum the covers a lot of times, and it was like, "You haven't put in the work, kid." And and it was like kind of like a jab at Byrne.
Such a gatekeeper.
That's why they didn't like him. But yeah, Cockrum. I love
That's
Cockrum. I'm a like Cockrum and Byrne are like my favorite artists along with Jim Lee. But like I go back and forth. Like, do I like Cockrum better? Do I like John Byrne better? I both of them are so good. So
yeah, good stuff for sure.
Love this cover, and Origin of Colossus can't beat it. Since you guys threw in some big boy books, I thought I'd throw in a cool book. X-Men 39.
Pedigree.
What's your pedigree?
It's Pedigree Northland Collection 7.5. This actually was a little bit of an annoyance.
Yeah.
Because when I sent it in for grading, when I bought it, it came with a COA for the pedigree, and it had been pre-graded at like a 9.2 or a 9.0.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, look at that cover. Look at that cover. I don't see a tick.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Color break.
It's really nice.
What did the grader know?
What did they say the defect was?
I can't remember now. I don't know. It's so nice. There's a little bit of
rounding or something.
I wouldn't say it is off-white. There's a little bit of like
they can kind of kill you for tanning or something like that, and that might be hard to see on the.
What's the back cover look like? Yeah, I see. I can see the tanning on the. If you got something to do like the blue light treatment on that back, it probably bump it way up.
Yeah. So, but I don't know if I'll do that. I'll probably just.
Well, you've already got the pedigree, so they're gonna know the pedigree was the pedigree.
Yeah.
So they're gonna say, "Oh, this was altered." So
probably, yeah. Man, that's killer. Hey, show the 122 again.
Sure.
That one was I know that was the first issue where they came out with the direct edition with the cross through. So I don't know. Like I hear that people say like, oh well, early on the direct edition was a little more rare. I mean, I assume that's true. So way to go there, Ryan, for grabbing that direct.
It's really it's in really good shape. But I gotta say, Mike at Lunch Money just got a copy of this. And it's so nice. It's
that's another one super cheap. You know,
he got it. He sent it to Comic Spot and he sent me a picture of it, and it's like, oh,
yeah, dude. I feel like you can get a 9.8 of that for like, gosh, $250 or something.
I might buy it slabbed and just stop chasing it. I have a couple copies of it, but
it's more fun to chase though.
It is.
Was I there when you got that one?
That copy? I don't know.
Was that from
I honestly
Dave?
don't even remember where I bought that one. You were there when I bought the 94.
You bought the 90. You bought a lot of stuff.
Dave. You had to be the biggest spender or whatever, right?
I was the biggest spender.
Yeah. Hey, big spender.
Got a Spider-Man 252 for spending that much, so it was pretty cool.
There you go. Yeah. Oh, you got to show Travis the Simonson cover.
Yeah.
Travis, did you unmute yourself?
Okay, I did unmute myself, but I watched the whole time I was gone. By the way.
Oh, okay.
So I got to see it all.
So you saw the Simonson cover.
I love that cover. That is like one of my favorite X-Men issues of all time.
Such a good story, and and the cover's great. I was just when I was looking for books for this and flipping through, and I was like, oh, I remember this issue. It was so good. And then I was like, oh, that's Simonson. And anyways.
Yeah.
Totally underrated, under the radar.
Well, I think if I'm allowed to come back on again, and me and Trav or whatever, I will do some different issues. Like every issue you guys have shown just brings back such great memories of reading those books, So
Brian, I hope that I didn't discourage you with that statement. I absolutely loved I'm so glad that you chose those. I don't like obscure stuff. I am so plain and vanilla. That's all I want to talk about is just Dave Cockrum and John Byrne. Like, it's 94 to 143, and then just to hell with the rest of it. I mean, that's sacrilegious, but I mean, honestly, like when it comes to reading, I love reading comics, but I can't really hang with Marvel superhero stuff. Like it's just like modern, or not to be like, oh, you can't read modern. I haven't found any stories that I pick up. I pick up any modern X-Men or Wolverine. I read it. I'm like, did I even read anything? Like we got nowhere in the story. I'm,
read that Whedon and Cassidy Astonishing X-Men.
Oh yeah,
that will speak to you as a Claremont Byrne person.
Yeah,
you mean that run right there.
I'll pick up like the trade. You said it's just like 20, so it should be like they should have like
I think it's like you could get the bigger trade, or you can get like the individuals. I think it's like it'd be 3 or 4 trades.
There was an omnibus.
That's what I meant. Omnibus, yeah.
There is an omnibus, but it's out of print right now. I'm waiting for it to come back.
I'm not.
The thing is the issues aren't that expensive though. I mean,
yeah, no, really. I bought the whole run on a live claim sale for I'm pretty sure under $100.
I actually just sold the first. I had the first issue. It was like a Delato variant or something. I just sold that today.
That's
I literally dropped it off at the. Sorry,
it's funny you say that.
Oh yeah,
you're talking. You just sold this one today.
That's it. Yep.
You didn't sell it to me, but here's that variant cover, right?
Can you imagine if he did though?
I picked this up today at
I've got to steal off this guy.
Yeah,
and I just paid. I paid $8 for it.
What a great book. That's a beautiful book.
I just basically gave mine away, man. I sold it in a lot of there's other variants and like X-Men things for like $18. Because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anything outside my lane. It's all just the books that Bigby showed, and everything else I have no idea.
That's all it is. That's all he collects with X-Men 4.
That's I just want to see it again.
700 copies of X-Men 4.
Well, I mean, I was tempted to bring my X-Men 97 and my X-Men 53 first Barry Windsor Smith of Marvel period.
Cool. Yeah. Oh yeah, there it is.
Beautiful book.
Let me see that date stamp. Is it in the end? That date stamp?
What's that?
Where's the date stamp on that?
Oh, it doesn't have a date stamp. It has just has the 14 cents written on it.
Oh, maybe that's what I was thinking of. That's just as cool. Just too much personality there. That's
Brotherhood of Humans. Yeah.
What grade would you think that is?
I think it's probably the consensus I've gotten from people who looked at it, albeit it's only been through photos. They say they think it's probably like a 2530.
Oh, that low? Oh, it looks really good though.
Yeah, I think one of the staples is kind of torn on it. Wasn't that the main thing?
The staples are all good. There's a small tear by Quicksilver's head, some creases.
Okay, yeah.
I thought it might be better than that. I mean, I was just like, when I picked it up, I couldn't say no. The guy was like, "Oh, I think it's like a 1.5," and I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, there's a lot of people that will just like shit on your books for sure.
Well, this was when the guy I bought it from. I was like, I'm not gonna argue.
I'll take that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking at it going, all right.
What's your plan with that? You think you're
it's PC for now. Yeah, for sure. I'll probably get it graded at some point. That's a book that you get graded. I mean, regardless. So
true, Angry Otter. A nice bag will make any book look good for sure.
Yeah, it's in a Mylar now. Yeah, I got it into Mylar. Keep it nice.
I have like fake Mylars, I think. Like
Mylites?
No, it's not Mylite. It's like some cheap brand. It feels good, like it's thicker, like it's not like that soft plastic. Like it's hard, but and it looks good.
Yeah, there's a. I used to work for a hobby supply company, so it's called biaxially oriented polypropylene. It's a clearer, crisper bag.
Yeah,
but it's not Mylar.
And Mylar's like when you feel it, like it's just like rock solid, right?
Yeah, those other ones are really close to Mylar, and you can get them.
I like them. I've used them before. I find them really good. They're pretty good myself.
Oh, okay, right on. Yeah, I was considering like picking up some Mylars, but I don't know if I have like any books that constitute.
X-Men 94, you know.
Yeah.
I like how they look, how Silver Age and Golden Age look in Mylars. So
Oh,
I
for
just-
sure, for sure.
I
It
just put them
feels
in
really good.
Mylars.
There is
But-
such a thing as Mylar magic. It makes everything look like a greater point to higher.
Yeah.
They're like approximately like about $1 a bag, or less.
Something like that, yeah. $1-ish
Yeah.
per bag with the board, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Depends on who you buy it from. And I mean, you can get some good deals. I buy a lot of my product through Amazon just because I can get a really cheap deal sometimes that way. And they have a BCW direct store that I go to buy a lot of the stuff I buy. So
Oh, cool. Yeah, I buy some stuff off bags and stuff off of Amazon because sometimes my work gives out gift cards. So that's you got to
There you
use
go.
it somehow. Yeah.
yeah,
I know
definitely.
Future Past Collectibles, who was in the convention
Yeah.
video I did.
Yeah, love that.
They're a local family that does comics, and they're actually authorized distributors for the company that makes the Mylars. I can't remember the name of them now,
Okay.
but yeah, they're authorized distributors for those guys.
Are you guys going to go to the Frankenstein comic swap in a couple weeks?
I didn't know it was coming up so quick. Probably I wanted to. Travis,
I mean,
it's
just
next
show up with
weekend.
$5, right?
It's not this
next
weekend. It's the
weekend.
weekend after. Yeah, so weekend after this.
If it's the weekend of the 14th of October, I will be in Disney.
Not. It's the week before that. Ooh, cool, fun. But
Yeah.
it's the week before that.
Okay. Oh, and then maybe I think we might be able to. I mean, what day is it on?
Quarter
Is it
and
on
dollar bin
Saturday?
diamond, baby.
Was that Saturday?
Quarter bin, 50-cent bin, dollar bin diamond.
I work on Saturdays until 3:30, so I don't know how late does it go.
I'll look that up.
I guess I can look at it. I mean, I'm sitting right in front of my computer. It's not like I can't just go, oh, Google.
Okay.
And Ryan, you could show up too.
Yeah,
Yeah, just swing on by.
Down the street.
I'll just shoot down.
Just get,
Oh,
where's your Doctor Strange sling ring,
Oh man, wouldn't that be nice? Well, guys, it's kind of getting late up in the Eastern Standard Time zone over here.
Oh, what do you have to do, Ryan?
Work tomorrow. But I wanted to thank all of you guys for coming on. It was great chatting with you. Great books to talk about. So
thank you guys for having us. No,
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't be more happy to be on here. It was a lot of fun to talk about X-Men. I mean, this is what we do. I mean, if Brian and I aren't on a podcast, half the time we're talking about some sort of comic story or thing that we think about. Most of the time,
we'll be talking, and I'm like, "This is great content we're wasting." Like we said before,
Yeah,
in the green room, we're wasting great
Like,
content.
stop
pre
talking.
and post, the pre and post is always some good stuff.
Yeah.
Right. You just got to keep it rolling, man.
Before we sign off, I just wanted to give you guys an opportunity to, plug anything you got going on, or at least your channels, whatever you want to do.
Well, something I want to plug is there's a gal named Jennifer who has a YouTube channel called Comics Will Break Your Heart. And Jennifer has come down with cancer, so they're doing a GoFundMe for her. You can find it under Keep Jennifer Reading. And it's a really worthwhile cause. She's a really nice gal. Got to meet her when we were at the Rose City Comic Con, and just wish her all the best. And on
Everything Comics.
Everything Comics has a thing where you can jump on and get in a raffle for a first appearance of the Teen Titans if you do a $20 donation to her GoFundMe. And coming up tomorrow, Bronze Age Nerd is going to put up a raffle for a piece of my artwork. For a $10 donation, you can be entered into a raffle for a piece of my artwork. So
Sweet.
Awesome.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
I can. I have the link for Jennifer's thing. I don't know if it won't let me post it in the chat though.
If you send me the link, I could put it into the description of the of this video, and
That'd be awesome. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
So Other than that, I've got videos planned, but nothing
Actually,
that I
in the
want to
private
spoil
chat.
right away. I did a video of the Rose City Comic Con. You guys should check that out. It's about
It
a
was
half
good.
hour
Yeah.
tour of the show.
Definitely
Me and
will.
Travis going crazy.
I
Awesome.
love the pose of the Travis at with the hood on for the Captain America when he posed at
Yeah.
the
Oh,
Daredevil.
Cap and Daredevil? Yeah.
Oh,
And,
yeah,
and
that
was
Bigby
And the
did a
other
good-
cap. Yeah.
What's
Oh,
that?
Cap and the other Cap. Yeah, we
Oh,
said
was that it?
that was
We did
Captain
two.
America pre-time travel and post-time travel.
Oh, yes, yes.
Pre-dad bod, post-dad bod.
Yeah, right. And then the end, like you just did a great job showcasing like the different artists on there, because I think a lot of times I just like when I go to the con I just glance over because I just don't know the artists, and sometimes I feel like kind of awkward, like, oh shoot, I have to say something about every single artist that I walk by. But you did a really good job of just kind of introducing.
I just picked and
different
choose
artists.
what spoke to me at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like, hey, I just want to, hey, what's your name? I really like your artwork.
Mhm.
Do you have a website?
Yeah, I
What
really
is it?
liked your choices there, because I remember passing by those and being like, oh yeah, that was dope. So nice.
Well,
work.
and then especially that animator, that was pretty cool too. That guy who we walked by just randomly, he's like, hey, do you want to watch my cartoon? And we're like, sure. And then we started talking to him, and we're like, hey, let's do a video. Do you want
I'm
to
like,
be on
hey, can I
YouTube?"
plug your cartoon? He's like, where? I'm like, on YouTube. He's like, yes.
Free publicity? Yes, please. All right, Dan, Travis,
Yep.
anything coming up? Nothing. Follow you.
Dan's going to Frankenstein. Come see Dan at Frankenstein.
Yeah, I could say that, like, I'm trying to decide what books to bring or trade, because like I don't bring books to Comic Cons anymore because people put down your books. You'll never get, I mean, like, I understand. It's like, right, if a dealer's going to buy your book, they want it for 50% of the value so they can turn, a profit, because it's work. That being said, I feel like I'll have a better shot at the swap, because I think there's going to be because I know that there's going to be a few comic collectors, like Qwerty Comics also has a YouTube channel, and he's going to be there. And
He works at Excalibur.
Yep. Great guy. And so I'm going to meet up with them and
Sean, right? Is that his name?
Yep. And they're having a booth too. Just trading what they got. So like,
just don't bring anything I want.
Well, you let me know. That's the thing, because like I hold back some of the ones. I have a bunch of duplicates, like, and I'm holding back some of them because it's just like, for, I guess, I don't know, spec purposes, I suppose, like, or just like I'm not ready to get rid of it yet, But
it's like when you see him for a stupid deal, you don't want to pass it up.
Yeah, and I've already said I'm willing to let go. Like Alex, the comic hoarder, also, has said, like, once he's considered letting it go, it's already gone, And so I'm trying to have more of that mentality. And because every one of the comics that I love are super easy to come by again, So if I pull, a Bigby McFly and have to sell the whole thing, I know that I can come back and collect it again. So I'm trying to just be able to let go, and then also bring things that I'm not going to get laughed at. And I'm willing to sell at 20% or 15% under fair market value,
Right.
Because I want to have people be happy, but I also want to, not have to sell, pack, deliver, and then get the cash to then buy the comic. I want it, it's much easier to use towards credit.
You say to pull a Bigby McFly and be able to get it back, but when I got rid of all those books, I thought, I can get them back. I had an XMen #1. I had ASM down to the early single digits.
Do you remember what year you sold?
It was 2008.
And then, like, 2008, that's around the time when, like, there was another kind of like dip in the market.
It was
right?
the housing crash.
Yes.
Yep.
That's right. Oh man.
Yep.
Well,
no shops could buy from me. I actually ended up selling to a guy named, his last name was Sharky.
Turkey?
Sharky.
Oh, Sharky.
Yes.
Oh boy.
His cousin Guido is my brother.
Yeah. Listen here, your
Yeah.
comics ain't worth nothing. I'll give you 20 cents. I'll give you 14 cents for that X-Men 4.
Basically, he was like, "You need how much money?" And I was like, X amount of dollars. And he's like, "All right, I'll give it to you." And I was like, "For the X-Men," or he goes, I said, "For what?" And he said, "For everything." And I said, "Including the X-Men #1?" And he's like, "Including." And I was like,
those are some real nice shoes you got there.
Yeah, why don't you throw those in too?
So the swap goes until 6 p.m. So Brian, if you wanted to show up at my house at 3:30, we could go over.
Catch it at the end.
You'll get all those people who really want to make that last minute buck.
You guys will be Russian though, right?
Yeah.
But I'd love to see
our nationality
until later. If you guys,
Colossus is Russian.
So Ilyana.
Yeah.
Yes. Doesn't stop, folks.
All right. Just also want to say thank you to everybody who's been watching in the chat. If anybody's left,
I can't tell.
It hasn't been happening, but Brandon Metro, What's on the Comic Rack, Angry Otter Comics, Mon Comics from earlier. I'm sure he's gone to bed. But everybody who's been in the chat, thank you so much, and thanks to you guys again for coming on.
Absolutely.
Until then,
anytime, buddy. Anytime.
All right.
Absolutely. Anytime.